All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Shed Rockin'. I got the old Les Paul out. The other day I changed out the string retaining element for this tremolo based one, and still getting used to it, but a lot of fun. The topic for today's talk is going to be about productivity. And, as a musician, I think it's worth thinking about, what your aims are, what your goals are. In my case, the things that I've always loved and responded to is like album rock. And so when I think about great music, I think about great albums. And that could be Fragile by Yes, it could be Moving Pictures by Rush, it could be Grace Under Pressure by Rush, any of these great records, right? But it's a record. You listen to the whole record. Of course, in today's world, do people sit and listen to a whole record? Maybe. But being, growing up in the time period I grew up, that's what I responded to emotionally as a kid. Like, this is what the experience of music is about. It's about sitting down and just digging into an 8, 10, 12 song record, or in the case of In a Silent Way, I guess there's 2 songs on that, maybe 3. Anyway, productivity as a musician. So it's like, what is it that you hope to achieve? In my case, I like to make albums, and that's how I know I've done something and I can say I completed it. Making albums is great because if there's something that you want to say, you don't need to say all of it in just one song. You can say it on the 9th song or the 10th song, and it gives you that freedom, and you still have the overarching album construct, so the songs relate to one another in a certain way. So for me, the ultimate sort of unit of productivity is, did I release an album? Yes or no? And I did an album 2 years ago called Destroy the World under the name Midnight Lands. And it's 12 songs. And it's been 2 years, so I'm due now for another record. If you go back from that time, I've done a record every couple years since, 06. So that means I'm due for another one. And so what's great about that is, riffs start happening. So I had this riff that, I forget which part was the first. I think that chorus part was the first part. It's just F to G, then to A minor, the little descending bit. And then just sort of stumbled on that verse riff. So, it's all it takes. So you got 2 parts. I put in another simple bridge part, and now you got a song. You obviously need lyrics. Productivity. So there's a few things you want to bear in mind. Using tools. In order to make an album, you need an album's worth of lyrics. So what are good tools for an album's worth of lyrics? Well, you could have a notebook. That's good to use. My preferred method is Google Keep. Obviously it's a problem if you don't have access to the internet, but if you do have access to the internet and get logged in, you can keep all your lyrics together and kind of side by side as little cards that you can click on and expand and see the lyrics. So that's a useful thing for keeping track of the lyrics and sort of refining them and getting them so that you have access to all of them in a easy to navigate kind of interface. So recommend that. The other handy Google tool is the Google Spreadsheets, Google Sheets. If you can imagine a row per song, so you've got your song name and it goes across the spreadsheet, right? And you might have this, you can think of it as a virtual version of the whiteboard with the dry erase marker, right? You might have a column for, does this song have drums yet? Yes or no. Does this song have vocals yet? Yes or no. And by keeping track of all the instruments that you need to put on and the state of the lyrics, the mixing, any notes you want, right? You can just see it on the spreadsheet, and then you can look at all the different songs in your project and kind of compare their current state against one another. So you could say, okay, you got 3 songs that have no bass, right? I better go play bass. So that's, you can use an Excel spreadsheet. It doesn't have to be Google, but it's pretty simple. If you're already using Google Keep, you can use the Google Sheet. And the other thing that's good about it, and better than an Excel spreadsheet, is if you are collaborating with someone else. Maybe not on the Google Keep, but with the Google Sheets, you can collaborate with another artist or musician that you're working with, so that they can update. Let's say they've been adding parts to a given song. They can update a value and say, oh yeah, guitars are done, and put a little comment with the date on it. Like, on this date, I recorded these tracks with the Les Paul, heavy bridge, whatever. So the other good thing about it is it helps you visualize the album as it's coming along. And the notes are going to get different as the album comes along. So what might be about tracking could be about mixes later, right? Mix thoughts, geez, needs more guitar, that kind of stuff. So that's something to think about, number one, like how to be productive. If you're not productive as a musician, I think it can still be a good experience. Like, I spend a lot of time just jamming to elevated jam tracks, backing tracks on YouTube. And it may be as productive because it's practicing, but it's not productive like, here's my new original music. Sometimes I think, oh, I'm gonna go back and listen to those solos and find the little bits that I played, and then I'll come up with a different backing under it, and then I'll have a song. But it just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen because who's got time to listen to hours and hours of just guitar playing? I don't. So that's an important thing also I wanted to bring up. Like, productivity as a musician is important because we're time constrained. For a lot of us, the only chance we have to produce music or even just to play is, either after the kids have gone to bed and before you got to go to bed, or, some moment that you steal away on the weekend, right? So with that time constraint, I think that it's even more important to be productive in your playing. So you have to be producing towards an end, right? In my case, the end is I want to make an album, or I want to make a couple albums. And so when I'm being productive, I'm chipping away at the stone of the album until it's carved in the right form. For somebody else, it could be about, I want to learn how to play in a different key, or I don't even know. I want to just have fun and log some time playing and play some songs I haven't played before. All those things are productive. Even just playing mindlessly is sort of productive, because you're getting your hand on the instrument and your ear is hearing playing. You could sit there and watch a football game and pluck along, and is that going to be productive? Maybe not, but it's probably useful and a good idea. So much of this stuff is like muscle memory and training your fingers and brain to start to form like totally subconscious sort of shapes and training your ear to hear things that you otherwise wouldn't. So the more time you spend playing, probably the better off you're going to be. But if you're time constrained and you want to be productive, number one, first tip is figure out what you're trying to accomplish. Number two, keep track of it on some kind of spreadsheet. Number three, if you are using Google, you can use Google Keep for lyrics, and it's pretty great. So those are some tips. In my case, I've got a bunch of songs in various stages. I've also got a record with my brother that's probably even further along. So that's going to be exciting when that finally happens. So anyway, jam, come up with riffs, keep track of them, write down what you're doing, keep the big picture in mind, have an idea for what you want to accomplish, and then set out each day to carve away the stone until you get there. All right, we'll see you next time.